Hello, and welcome to Eternal Ramblings, the show that's not really a show, it's me talking into an hour, plus or minus an hour. Talking into an hour.
Talking into an hour.
Talking into a microphone for an hour. Thank you. That's the best job I've done so far. Which says a lot. Hello, I'm with Sal today. Hi, Sal.
Hello.
Yay! Today's work stories. Work stories with myself and work stories with Sal.
Stories about work.
All of them are terrible.
Yeah.
I'm bad at storytelling. She's much better than I am.
No.
Something happens and I go, wow, that's really hilarious. And then I relate the story and I'm so bad that no, that's really just...
I think it's just that you're the only one who finds it interesting to talk about concrete, cement, asphalt for like an hour at a time, but also I enjoy listening to you talk about it, not because I care about cement and stuff, but just because it's interesting to see what other people are interested in.
I care about health stuff. Why don't you care about what I do? I care about what your work is.
Listen, my work is relevant for everyone, and everybody has to come into contact with concrete too. But I don't know. It's sort of just rocks and stuff.
Everyone has to come into contact with their own mortality, and that's what you deal with. So it's fine.
I guess
it's literally.
I wouldn't phrase it that way.
It's literally the same thing.
I don't know if I go that far, but I guess you just did, so that's fine. We'll stay there.
Concrete and public health, they are the same thing.
Yeah, sure.
Hello. This is actually Eternal Ramblings, where we talk about eternity stuff as well, and not just our own lives. What's going on in eternity, though, is a lot of stuff that I forgot to mention last week. Since then, not much. There's been a lot of talk about, gosh, everyone's getting super excited about modern tech roleplay stuff. Specifically the whole rebellion in New Zealand and everyone trying to gang up on Soyabar because, why not? Thankfully, there's actually people who are who are against the different interventions, which makes it much more interesting, and I got to do less work to make this thing not pan out so that the intervening parties just steamroll the place.
Hooray for laziness.
Yay. Well, I was hoping to actually have all the weird mandate bros take over the rebels, but then I guess they got the idea that they were just going to come in with some of their dudes and I would also be there, but that's not at all what I intended, but that seems to be what happened. I didn't want to continue. I spend 30 minutes on these replies, which is 29 minutes longer than I want to. But anyway, that's cool that people are starting to find inspiration again and think about stuff to do, and also not just about that one thread. Other things have started to pop up in modern tech roleplay. A lot of it has to do with stuff related to that, so it's actually, in a way, I like that this whole rebel roleplay I have with Soyabar turned into, hey, there's this big geopolitical impetus for these alliances to start butting heads, which is exactly what I was hoping would happen, but did not expect to actually happen. So, good job. The plan of my evil villain is coming together beautifully. Other than that, just not... Like I said, not much else has happened except for a lot of forum redesign and features. I forgot to mention last week, over the weekend, was it Thursday or Friday? I don't know. Something like that. Lines was actually working on Discord integration on the forum.
Ooh.
He spent a lot of time, as in more than 5 minutes, which is a long time for him to spend on anything, in figuring out how to get this Discord bot to work on the forum. Gone are the days of Chatango. We no longer have to deal with that
F off
mess. Now we have Discord on the forum, which is much nicer. It defaults to the general discussion area, but on my computer, on my big beast at least, when I'm running Chrome, you can actually select on the side of the little Discord window on the forum which of our little Discord channels you want to go into. So it acts like basically the full Discord app just on our forum. People have been wondering what's going on. Get up here, Lila. Kitty's here.
Hi, Lila.
Yay.
She would like some jarritos.
Well, she does not need sugar at all.
She can't taste it, so I don't know why she would want it.
She's intrigued because it makes the fizzy nose.
Does it give a girl a hot nose?
Hot nose. People have been asking around because people show up in the chat as bots. This happens when you're talking via the Discord app on the forum. How it works is that there's actually just a bot that Lines added to our Discord server. And, well, I say he did it. I'm sure he bugged Icarius to add it because Lines has no idea how to run Discord. I don't know. In any case, a bot was added to our Discord server, and all the replies on our forum application, that little box, are sent through the bot. Originally, it was using people's original sort of usernames with the numbers. I mean, instead of like display names, it was coming up like showing the name of the bot and then whatever normal login name, which no one goes by their login names except for me.
I'm Sal.
And Sal.
I'm Sal, like 8989. It's really easy to remember.
And Hawk. And well, a lot of people go by their login names, but there's a whole lot of Flo doesn't.
Flo is a lot of people.
Black doesn't. Many people, I'd say it's probably about 50-50, the people who go by their login and people who have a display name for Discord. In any case, it was messy and he cleaned that up, so now it actually displays people's Discord login names, or display names rather. But it'll still show up on the regular Discord as a bot. And if anyone is sort of adding you, it shows up as their login with the numbers and the hashtag pound sign. Yeah.
Sharp.
The sharp. Sal Sharp 8989. When you're viewing it on the forum, it'll still display that. But hey, it's better than nothing. It's better than Chatango. So, yeah, it's nice to have that on there because nothing was going on Chatango. Everyone was in the Discord. And so to remove the Chatango that no one uses and actually put up something that shows, hey, this community is actually active, maybe not on the forum so much, but we're definitely still active. That's really nice to see, and it's really something that I've been haranguing him about for months, probably since spring.
Oh, so what you're saying is you get the credit.
I get all of the credit. It's all my doing. You're very welcome. I am a god amongst men. Aside from that, he did finally give us a dark theme that wasn't completely broken from before the MyBB update. So hooray!
Woo!
And it looks nice once he, got rid of the stark white text.
I actually have not seen the new dark one because I was given the new light background.
It looks pretty much like most of the other dark backgrounds we've had.
Okay.
Certain things have changed. It's a bit... The layout's different. I mean, the layout, I think, is the same as the one you're using.
Yeah.
It's just dark.
There's a lot more... I don't know how to describe it. Maybe more free space. I don't know. Things are just a bit spaced out more, it seems, which makes it look neater, in my opinion. I think that maybe that's what was going for there.
I personally don't like it because you're just making stuff bigger. And there's a lot more wasted space. But at the same time, I do get that the old format was... from the text to the pictures to everything, it seemed very crowded.
Yeah, for sure.
When you would show it to some other people who are not on the community and they have trouble navigating, like, what is this?
Yeah.
Which I don't get because we came from the EAB, which was terrible in itself. But
oh man, I had the background that was like black with the stark white text, and then like the lime green.
The lime green, the original.
Yeah, that was the one that I had.
You didn't have the one that I made, which was the
pink one.
The pink one.
No, I don't like light backgrounds. Actually,
I don't either, but I liked my pink one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I feel like it is easier to. It's less messy. It feels. I mean, there is a bunch of not white, blank space on the right underneath the recent threads, but I feel like that's just room that can be added for extra stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think this. I mean, it's a good enough layout, but I feel like we could add to it if we need to, since we have that extra space. I didn't mind the latest threads being longer than it was, but.
See, I don't know, like, to me, it was just an awkward length, and I don't know, I almost, like you said, add a third thing and make all three boxes the same. And also, when I tossed out the suggestion that we should have fewer spaces for recent threads, the forum was like a day away from this explosion of activity. So, like, you would have seen things from, 2 weeks ago would have been the oldest one, perhaps. And now it's like...
Now it's pushed off to 8 hours ago.
And what, like, Batleon is posting, I think it's Batlion posting every 2 minutes in the, like, little...
The spam
area and stuff. And I was like, oh...
That's Eskia, I believe.
Eskia, I can't. Tavona, Strider, something like that.
Shriver.
I'm sorry. It's one of the Brits, I think.
Brit boy. Yeah, I get it. Yeah. Yeah, I get it. And one interesting idea, I think, would be to have a latest threads thing for each section. Like, in Modern Tech Roleplay would have its own latest threads. And stacked below that would be the next one. I think Fantasia and Almosheim and stuff. And stacked below that. With each category having its latest threads off to the side of it.
I think I'd have to disagree with that. Only because I think that would look really messy. And because
I guess
basically
it could be, but...
each sub area under all of those already has the most recent thread showing up because it's what shows up under each category
right,
when you look at it at a glance. So
But I mean, the idea is that you have, say, 8 different active current events in Modern Tech role-playing. When on the Siora tab, it's only going to show the latest thread, and the idea is to have, like, the list of latest threads, and you'd see what all the latest ones were.
I know what you're going for, but I think I still disagree.
Without it being muddled with, spam threads and other stuff. But it's something that I'd have to look at layouts and see what it would look like and how it could be made better. It would definitely clutter things up again because you have like this list of stuff on the right and your threads on the left and everything, and I get it, but
yeah, I don't know. I think, excuse me, I think I'd like to see maybe just another, and I don't have any ideas, but another widget under that area to sort of even it out, to use up that blank space, or even just like a picture or something over there to just balance everything out and pick up space. That would be nice.
Our cat?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'll submit the one where I edited her to look like Gundam.
What about the one where? What about her senior yearbook photo?
That is a delightful photo, and I think it would be perfect on the front of our fort. She could be the face of our community. I think that's a perfect idea. I'm in full support of this, and Lions, if you want this photo, please contact me. You have me on Discord. You know how to get hold of me.
My list has disappeared.
Oh no.
Yeah, it closed down. I gotta pull it up again. We're recording on the phone, and come on. There we go. But this is the Work Stories episode. Maybe I should have written these down on a piece of paper and not on the phone that I'm using to record our audio. We had a bit of technical difficulties at the beginning, hence the change in audio. I was using the microphone, and of course, I don't know. It's got to be something to do with some interplay with some power cables, because where I have it plugged in now causes problems, and I swear the alternate place where I plug in the microphone doesn't have at least as many problems. But I couldn't be bothered. So, and we're also in a much more comfortable setup, just lounging on the couch as opposed to crouched in front of a microphone in front of my computer.
I was in the really comfy chair, so I was fine down there. But yeah, we only have one really nice computer chair.
But now you get to lay down, kind of.
The other chair is just a sad fold-out chair that my parents gave to me that I am pretty sure has been in my family since I was like 7. So
It's fine. It just hurts my butt bump.
Yeah. Sorry about your butt bump.
It's going to be gone in January.
That's probably more information than anybody wanted to know.
No, they need to see the butt bump.
Oh, well, if we get it put in a jar, then we will definitely... That will be the picture that goes on the
I'll
front.
take some pictures of my butt. They can see the hairy butt.
No, not your butt, just the bump.
They can say hello to the starfish.
No, we're going to have to edit this part out.
Nope, it's going in.
Oh, no. I did not condone this, by the way. I am fully against leaving this part in.
That's fake news.
You're fake news.
That might be fake news.
Yeah.
This is the work stories episode, and we're going to bring you some work stories this week because
we have jobs.
Sal has bad jobs. All of her jobs are terrible until the one she got to. Except for maybe the first one.
The first one was fun.
It was okay.
And it was a customer service job, so I mean...
Everyone needs one of those.
Yeah.
Mandatory retail / customer service jobs for everybody.
Yeah.
Especially people who don't need to do it for a living.
Yeah, that was me. I didn't need to do it for a living. I was in school.
You need some spending money.
That's literally all it was. I kind of cheated my way through grad school in terms of the payment.
Cheated.
So, okay, that sounded really bad. I didn't cheat my way through grad school.
I stole all of my grades.
No, so what I mean by cheated is I meant the payment system.
I stole all of my money.
I was in a program where after you graduated with your master's degree, if you went into the Peace Corps, they essentially gave you in-state tuition rates, even though you're an out-of-state student. And I think for in-state students, you get like 50% off your tuition or something like that.
I wasn't too far off. You stole your scholarship.
Yeah, so, well, listen, I started off deciding like, yes, this sounds amazing. And when I started my studies, I was planning on going into the Peace Corps immediately after. And then sort of around the same time, I kind of got diagnosed with anxiety, and I was like, oh, that makes sense. And then I started going to the meetings to set up this whole, the whole Peace Corps thing. And they're like, oh, well, basically how it works is we'll take you to the crappiest part of South America and just dump you there. And, like, you're in healthcare, so probably what you'll be doing is digging toilets. And you won't really have any contact with anyone. And you'll have a supervisor in the country we put you in, except for they'll probably be like a day's journey away from you. And you'll only see them once every few months. And you'll be down there for 2 years. And you'll be alone. Nobody else gets placed in that country with you. And I was like, cool. No. So I went back to the admissions office and I was like, hi, so I'm going to still pursue my master's degree, but I don't think Peace Corps is right for me. It sounds like I'd actually probably go off the deep end if I did that. I'm getting this special tuition rate. Let me know what I needed to do. I'm assuming I'm going to have to probably pay back the extra half. And they just never responded. So I actually emailed again. I don't know why, looking back on it, that I even tried, because it's like, whatever. If they don't respond, then, cheap school for me. Well, I wouldn't say cheap. It's still the U.S. school system, but cheaper. And so I emailed again and again, no response. And I was like, well, that's just a sign from the cosmos that I need cheap school. So that's what happened. Anyway, that has nothing to do with work or anything. But there's a fun story.
Kind of. It leads up to work.
Yeah, it's my pre-work story. My master's degree was what got me my jobs.
This is your work origin story.
All of that is just to say that I didn't really need money in grad school because I basically got a half-price tuition to begin with, and the other half was covered by my parents, who were very good parents and had a college savings fund for me. So, yeah, my first job was in a fancy cupcake boutique bakery. One of those things that were super popular in like the mid-2000s to like 2011-ish. It's exactly what you'd imagine it being like super hipster. And I think the lady who owned it was actually one of the I don't know what you call them, the bakers / writers for like Southern Living magazine.
I have no idea.
So I went to grad school in Alabama. So this was all in Alabama, by the way. So, yeah, it was very overpriced cupcakes. Here is their big secret. They just use boxed cupcake mix. So they would buy Pillsbury and they would add stuff to it. So like they would put actual vanilla bean in there, and they would put, like whatever the flavor would be. They'd actually put that in there, but
Betrayed.
Essentially their reasoning was, well, Pillsbury dry mix just already has all the flour and all the baking powder and, basically everything already added, and you just have to add, water and egg or oil or whatever it is that they added, and then whatever your flavoring is. They're like, it just saves time. It's essentially just pre-mixed self-rising flour with like some vanilla or something. So that was their reasoning. My opinion is, if you're gonna charge like $4 for a cupcake, then you better be making it from scratch from like the finest of flours. But whatever. I didn't get paid to make those decisions. I got paid to sling cupcakes, so I was just a cashier. I would pull the cupcakes out of the case and I would give them to the customers. That was my whole job, except for one time I got to decorate the cupcakes because it was St. Patrick's Day and they forgot to put like green sprinkles and green sugar and tiny little like golden horseshoes on everything. So they were like, here, and gave me a huge tub of sprinkles, and they're like, just put them on. So I was really panically throwing handfuls of sprinkles on the cupcakes because the customers were gonna come in like in 2 minutes, and I was like, oh no, I don't know what I'm doing. So I was just like chucking handfuls on there. And I'm sure I've said this on the forum or the chat before, but I hate food coloring that's like an unnatural color. So I can deal with, pink food dye if the flavor of the thing is like strawberry, or, maybe a very, very pale blue food dye, and vanilla frosting or something. I hate vibrant green and vibrant blue, and this stuff was all just covered in green sugar, and it was the worst, and it made everything so unappetizing. So does that count as a work story?
It's a story from work.
So that was my first job. The most interesting story that I remember from working at that cupcake bakery was we would get all types of customers. So we were kind of on the cusp of a ritzy part of town versus just a really trashy, low-income part of town. So we would get kind of both sorts of people sometimes. We'd get a lot of, businessmen who were bankers or lawyers or something coming in their suits and just, oh, can you break 100? And, me having to look like, no, we can't break 100. We just opened. You need to give me a 20.
We have $40 at most in our till. We can't break 100.
Right. We cannot break 100 for you purchasing a single $4 cupcake. Like, stop showing off. It's not impressive. I don't care. So we'd get people like that, and then we'd also just get your everyday average family coming in, which was honestly much nicer typically than having the show-offy flaunty businessmen come in. So we had one family come in, and I will admit that I judged them when I first saw them because they are exactly what you picture when somebody says white trash in the South. So they just had that look about them where it's gonna sound super bad the more I describe them, but anyway, I'm just gonna leave it at they look like white trash. But they were the sweetest people, And they were very respectful, and they had some questions. They're like, well, what flavor is this, and which one do you recommend? And they were just always very nice, like, yes please, no thank you, and very polite. And the weirdest thing was it was a mother and a father, and they look like teenage, maybe preteen sons. The older of the sons, his face was painted as like a realistic skull. And now, it wasn't Halloween or Dia de los Muertos. It was nothing like that. It was like March. And I have no clue why this kid's face was painted the way it was. But even he was also very polite. They bought their cupcakes. They told us like, oh, thank you, they're really delicious. And they were getting ready to leave. And the kid just stops in the doorway and he goes, you've been visited by the skeleton. And he just backs out of the door, and it was so strange. And I think that there was somebody else we had a back part, which was the kitchen where all the baking happened, and it was separated by a door from the sale room area, I guess, the dining room part. So I think there was one other person who was out there with me, and we just doubled over laughing. It was hilarious. It was the weirdest thing. We actually kept a book at that bakery where we would write down just some of the strangest occurrences, and I think that was the very first one that I ever got to put in the book. I didn't put very many in there because I only worked there for about a semester, but that was my favorite memory. Do you have some work memories maybe now that you'd like to share, sir?
I have a lot, none of which are as interesting as the skeleton.
Oh, the skeleton is going to be the best one. I probably shouldn't have led off with that one, but it felt right chronologically.
Yeah, I mean, you could talk about the guy who came in and ordered 40 cupcakes.
Oh, I should mention that guy. So a guy came in, and I guess he was having a party or something, and anyway, he wanted 4 dozen cupcakes, which really isn't a problem. I mean, they would bake several back in the kitchen, and we just have all of them out in the display. Usually like 6 or 7 flavors a day. Like, I think at most we would have 10 or so. So he came in, and he was like, oh, I want 6 dozen. So I started pulling out the boxes, and a lot of people, when they want a lot of cupcakes, will just say, can you put some of the best sellers in there? And I'll say, yeah, sure. And I'll just mix, 4 of each or something like that. No, this guy wanted to individually, one by one, pick the cupcakes. So he would sort of start at the left end of the cases, and he'd say, oh, one of those. And then he'd walk down a little bit, one of those. But then he'd realize, like, oh, I walked past something that looks good. He'd go back and one of those. So I'm zipping around back and forth behind the cases. And it's just a regular deli case for anybody who's ever worked in anything like that. It's a glass case in the front, and people out front, it lifts up in the front, but people don't just lift it up and get it themselves. We open it up from behind the counter. So anyway, if you've ever seen a deli case, this is what I'm talking about. It's a deli case. So I'm running back and forth. This is the guy is deciding on what he wants, and he just one by one picks these things. He doesn't say, okay, I want a dozen of just vanilla. He never does that. It's just one by one. I want a vanilla and a chocolate. Oh, is that lemon? That looks good. And so I got all of his boxes full, and I sit them down, and I start ringing them up for purchase. And these things, like I said, they're about $4 a piece. You do get your 12th one free when you buy a dozen, so it's basically he's paying 66 times $4. So it's quite a bit of money. So I tell him the total, and he just goes, yo, and he just leaves. He just kind of like backs away and leaves after it's like this exorbitant price. And I guess he just didn't realize, even though it's written very hugely and very plainly on this gigantic chalkboard that's mounted basically above my head, he just, yo, and just leaves. And I'm just like, I don't know what to do. I mean, these cupcakes, it's fine. I touch them with gloves, of course, when I'm picking them out, and they went straight from my gloved hand into a box, so there's nothing wrong with them in terms of, like, they haven't been contaminated. But I've got 70 some cupcakes now that I'm gonna have to put back, and it was just so frustrating. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that after that, anytime anybody wanted more than like 2 dozen, I would say, okay, well, this is gonna be your total. Is that okay? This total price before I pull all of them out? this was not a short amount of time. I'm pretty sure this guy took up like 30 or 40 minutes of my time doing this. So, and then I had to go put them back one by one. And it's not like we were a huge store. This was a small privately owned bakery. So I would usually be the only cashier out that day. So I think we actually had to go pull kitchen staff to get them to help cashier because nobody else could man the register. And there were other customers in the store as I was putting these stupid cupcakes back one by one. Oh man, after I worked in that bakery, I actually could not smell like the scent of baked goods for a while. I, like any other white girl in the US, am really big into like candles. And I love candles that smell like chocolate and vanilla, but I could not smell those for like months after I worked in that bakery. Luckily, this has passed. I am not irreparably damaged. I can still smell my vanilla candles today, but yeah. Good. So if you ever work in a bakery, you really start hating the sugary, sticky everything about it.
That's pretty normal for anything where you have strong smells like that. I mean, I spoke with a guy back when I was working in when I was doing customer service on the airbase.
Yeah.
And shoot, was it there? Well, it was something like that in any case, back when I was working retail / customer service. In any case, this guy used to work in a soda factory.
Oh, and God.
Yeah, can you imagine? You're smelling that all day, all the time.
I already don't like soda. That would be awful.
Yeah. I mean, after a while, just like the smell of Ohio, we have gotten used to it.
Yes.
And so we don't smell it anymore, but also it's just this unappetizing thing.
Oh man.
Where you don't want sodas, or you work in a bake shop and you don't want baked goods of whatever variety that you've been selling all the time. It's like buttercream, no thanks.
I already was not really big into cakes and cupcakes because I really don't like frosting or icing or buttercream, whatever you want to call it, very much. And I definitely didn't like it after I got done working there. So anyway, you now tell us a work story, because I have told one.
Yeah, I've told two.
I've told two. I've told everything I think that's probably worth telling about the bakery.
You can keep going, and this can be a very easy ramble for me.
I could tell them about the lady who would read the signs but then ask me the flavor anyway.
I mean, you could, but I'll go ahead and continue on with my own, because Blacario was asking me about instances where I have insulted my bosses at work.
Yeah, I'm interested too to know the full extent.
Oh, you've heard these stories.
I want to hear if there's anything new in this telling.
There's nothing new, and with each telling, the story gets worse and worse.
Oh no.
I'm already bad at telling stories, you know this. But the most recent one was when I insulted my supervisor, completely on accident. What had happened is, for anyone who doesn't know, at my current job, I'm a materials testing technician. I don't remember if that's my actual work title, but it's what I do. I test construction materials. I go out and I sample and test concrete, or I sample and test asphalt, or I test like the compaction of soils and sample the soils to see, what its gradation is. And other properties of the soil. Well, I have this problem where I had been on this one site for quite some time, like several months, and we had been sampling and testing mortar, and grout, but mostly mortar for, say, like concrete masonry blocks and bricks and tile, because they've been building these buildings on
building a building.
Building a building.
Wow.
We're out at a water treatment plant because they're expanding the capacity because the city's growing like crazy. In any case, this had pretty much been my project for all intents and purposes, at least part of this site. But, we're busy. We only have so many people on our staff, and yet all of our contracts are wanting to do work all at once. It's getting to the end of the season. Everyone's crunching down to get stuff done before all the plants and suppliers close for the winter. Or, well, you just can't do work in the winter because it actually snows up here. Yeah. Well, every time I leave the site to go to somewhere else and I come back and all my equipment's dirty. All of it. It's like they don't clean the molds to make samples, like the scoops and all. If it is cleaned, it's the bare minimum. So there's still stuff stuck in places. It's like they don't clean out corners and they don't respect the scoop. You got to clean out the scoop. I know it's just a scoop, but you got to clean it out or else it doesn't scoop.
Respect the scoop.
Respect the scoop. Yeah, so this had been going on for a while, and I'm obviously getting frustrated because I clean stuff. When I have stuff, it's going to return to... If I'm borrowing something, or even if it's the equipment that I'm using that's my own, but if I'm like borrowing someone's equipment, whether it's the company's or an actual person, other person's, I'm going to return it in at least as good a condition as when I got it.
Yeah. You know, being a normal, decent human.
Not being a piece of trash. But which seems to be an alien concept to a lot of people. It's like they were never taught to share. I don't understand. It's like you don't borrow someone's toy and then break it and give it back to them. Or drag it through the mud and hand it back to them when mud encased. And I don't get people. I just don't get it. And obviously we have a lot of people in the shop who do clean stuff. I mean, but there's several people who don't. One of them has senioritis and is retiring, and I've already talked about him, I believe. Maybe, unless I cut him out in, editing. But he's got senioritis, doesn't care, doesn't clean, or barely cleans and hardly works. And then we've had a lot of new people because this company's just been expanding like crazy itself. So they've been hiring on all kinds of new people who I guess they don't know how to clean. They've never been in a position where they've needed to keep equipment in good working order. I don't understand, because one of them used to work at with the park service doing grounds maintenance and stuff.
Maybe he just always did it with dirty equipment.
I guess it's like did none of them keep their equipment clean? Because when I worked for a state entity, I know that it was drilled into us to keep our stuff clean because we're not going to get new stuff. We're a state freaking entity. We don't got money. So yeah, I don't get it. I mean, that particular guy's gotten better, but it's just, it was just every time I come back to this site, my stuff's dirty. So I come back this one morning after being off on a different site, and of course stuff's dirty again. I mean, I got actual sort of mortar stuck. The scoop is stuck inside of mortar, inside of whatever vessel we've been using to, hold the mortar for our sample. It's not really a bucket, it's more like a cup. But it's more than enough, to make our samples with it. It's physically stuck in the shit. Like hardened, because it was sitting in there for 3 days over a weekend. So I had to bust open the cup, smack it on the ground to get the thing out. And it's easy enough to scrape off what amounts to cement off the outside of a curve, but good freaking luck getting it off the inside of a curve when you don't have any sort of curved utensils. So it just makes more work for me, and I hate having to do extra work because of other people. So I was frustrated. So I text off to my supervisor, because at this point I'm assuming it's the usual suspects. I'm assuming it's the same people as usual that's been coming out there and not cleaning stuff. So I'm like, oh, who's the idiot who doesn't know how to clean shit who is out here? So yeah. Well, he comes back with this long reply. It's like, oh, I was out there and I know how to clean shit. I was just, busy. I got distracted. I was like, oh, well, I guess I just accidentally insulted my boss.
It's me. I am the fool.
It is me. I am the April's fool. It was you see that long reply where it's like, oh, I was out there, and it's very obvious that I was out there, but I know how to clean shit, etc., etc. It's like, oh God. Oh boy, here we go.
Mouth.
So I backpedaled. I obviously apologized because it's my freaking boss, and it's one thing to talk shit about people behind their back. It's another thing to accidentally talk shit, not realizing that you're talking shit to the person. No, I don't really talk shit to people behind people's back. It's a fact that people don't clean stuff, and I've aired this. We've had this discussion before with my supervisor about these are the people who just don't clean stuff or do stuff. So he knows. It's just, I just explained myself to him. It's like, yeah, I'm sorry you were you just happened to be the target of my frustration today. But yeah, I had to explain to him that this has just been going on for like the longest time. It's been a consistent problem that I come back and stuff is a mess.
Well, you still have your job, so he must have accepted your apology.
It seems that way. I mean, he sent an email and we've interacted and nothing's really changed. So, but yeah, no one really deserves, it didn't really matter who it was. No one deserved someone to spout off with their anger management issues.
Well, boss's day is coming, so you can get him those woohoo cookies.
Get him more woohoo cookies. Yeah, so that was one of the times where I've insulted my boss. The other time was an actual joke that we've been joking around. I know he didn't take it seriously because this was in South Carolina. This guy was my boss's boss, and then he became he was technically my boss's boss, but we didn't have the boss's boss at this point because he had just been promoted up. So still technically, I guess, my boss's boss. Just there was a vacant spot.
I gotcha.
You got it.
I understand. Yes, he was at position 4 on this totem pole, where you were at position 1, and there was nobody in position 3.
He was at position 3, and then he got up to position 4, but he was pretty new to the spot at position 4, and we didn't have anyone at position 3.
Yes, I understand.
You got this now.
I hope the listeners at home understand.
I'll include a chart.
Okay, please include the totem of bosses.
I will not include a chart. That will take too much editing.
Oh. Well, good luck, everybody.
Good luck. But he was very much sort of a good old boy. But so he'd do a lot of joking around with people in the office, and it was a lot of slinging around joking insults at each other, or making fun of, not really insults, but making fun of each other, ribbing each other. Mm-hmm. All in good fun, and most of us took it well enough. I didn't do anything that drew attention and required ribbing. I was always the one where if I said anything, it came completely out of left field, and no one expected me to come up and say something.
You're like that meme, like when the quiet kid starts.
When the quiet kid roasts you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was that meme. I obviously had my sarcastic Midwest sense of humor that everyone would sometimes appreciate.
Sometimes.
But sometimes I speak.
And when you speak, by God, it is sarcastic and Midwestern.
darn Skippy. But this happened shortly before I left. I mean, I've thrown around sick burns before this that came completely out of nowhere, but this particular one, which was my boss's boss, he'd been ragging on me because I was leaving, so I got saddled with doing this this as-built plan, which is literally, you have your construction plans, and that's what you're using to build with, and you have your as-built plans, and these as-built plans are literally what it says. This is the plans that you draw up, or at least you're marking on the construction plans, how whatever you're building was actually built. So if dimensions change, do you change that on the construction drawings? If something didn't actually exist, you notate that. If you had to add something that wasn't on the plans, you add that, etc., etc. It's just a plan that shows how something was built. So I'm going through this for this highway re-signing project we had, and they asked me at the start, how long would this take? And I told them, it's not a big project. It'd take me about a day to do it. A full day, 8 hours. Well, I would have been right, except for so much stuff that had to get researched because we were just missing information. It's like, what happened here? Well, we don't know. It's like, well, what happened to this? Because I wasn't the only one out on this project. This whole re-signing thing was primarily my doing, but obviously I couldn't be there every single day. And it was given to me kind of, not really near the start, but it was kind of in the middle of it, where the responsibility of it got handed to me, and I did a really darn good job, because I always do. But there were other people, if I wasn't there, if I had to go to some other project and inspect that, or if I was just gone, we take vacations every now and again. Mostly it was me being on a different job. Funny that every time I leave my jobs, stuff doesn't get done to my standard. But yeah, stuff there'd be missing information or wrong information, and that's the sort of stuff that takes time to fix. And so every day he'd be coming in, ribbing me like, it's a bit longer than a day. I was like, so what happened to that one day? It's 3 days in, 4 days in. We get to 5 days in, and he's like ragging on me about it once again, not being a one-day project. I just shoot back at him that the joke's getting about as thin as his hairline. And everyone in the office just went, oh! The office wasn't full of people, but it was quiet, so you could hear it through the whole office. And there were about 3 other people who were like, oh shit. Just busting up laughing. And all he could do was continue pointing at me, and I was just much pointing back at him with the same raised eyebrow. He walked out the door to do whatever he was going to do. No comeback available for that.
Did he continue to rib you about that?
No, he was actually really quiet. Yeah, so that is the time when I thoroughly destroyed my boss.
Annihilated
him. Yeah, he had, to give you an idea, he was only a couple years old. He's only a couple years older than me, but he had that, his hairline was so thin that he barely had anything up top. He kind of had stuff, going back from the ears around the back, but he would always have it like shaved really close or anything, because what's the point in having hair when you have no hair? The same philosophy my dad used to use when he was in the Air Force. It's like, well, just shave it all off. There's no point. But yeah, so I immediately went for the jugular. Yeah, this is just, I'm not particularly quick-witted, if you can tell by how I speak, and I take long pauses because my brain is so slow and my mouth is so quick that it can't keep up. Well, sometimes stuff just goes. It just automatically. It's like, I don't even plan for these things. But every now and again, just I blurt something out that just is a spark of brilliance that I otherwise wouldn't have. So those are two of my stories that people were asking about in chat. Like, how do you insult your boss? Well, there you go. In one case, mess up really badly, and in the other case, make sure you got a good old boy who likes ribbings.
My favorite work story of yours is still the one about the guy and the giant hole in the ground and him asking should he drive around the hole.
That thing where, I mean, I got two stories related to that freaking 15-foot hole. Where one of them was, we're up here in Ohio now, and it's on this job that's been my life for the past several months. And so I'm doing what I do in the morning, and I don't know what it is. They see a guy, we get these delivery trucks. They come up, they're delivering supplies to be doing, our job. Well, I swear, almost every truck that comes up, since I'm the first person they see when they get onto this site in my little testing area, I'm like, oh, look, there's a guy in a high visibility shirt and a helmet. Let me ask him. It's like, are you with so-and-so contractor? And I can literally be looking at them with my helmet on, which clearly says that I am not with so-and-so contractor. I don't know jack about what you're asking. But no, I still get asked for that every single time, so I just point them out to someone else who can hopefully help them. Well, on this in this area, this particular road, for a short amount of time, they were putting a pipe across it, so obviously they had to cut across this road through this area, so the road was closed. And to be fair, it was a bit of a contractor oversight because they didn't have a sign up that said, hey, the road's closed, don't come this way. So we'd still get delivery trucks trying to come this way, and then they'd have to back out and go around the other way. Well, this one truck comes up to me, is like asking me about, hey, where do I go? Because, again, the road is out. The road is closed because there's a 15-foot wide hole that spans its entire width. And so I'm like, well, you're going to have to go around this way. I mean, you're going to... Well, I didn't say that. What I told him was that, well, the road's closed, so... He's like, am I going to have to go around? And I'm just like, no, I mean, you could try to jump that thing with your 20-ton truck if you really want to. Oh, more power to you, but I'm not going to stop you. But I do recommend that you go around.
I just love that. Should I go around? I just imagine you like looking at this man, looking at the hole, looking back to this man, and just I think, I mean, obviously you can't snark in the moment because you're just caught off guard.
Oh no, all I said was yep, because he didn't say it. He didn't say it in that sort of, oh, should I go around? It's like, no, it was very much that sort of snarky, rude. Well, do I gotta go around? Like, oh, why didn't you guys have something up to say I had to go around? It's like, you're sitting in a freaking semi. You're sitting 15 feet in the air yourself. Yeah. You can see the hole from 100 feet away. What are you coming up to the hole and then asking me if you got to go around the hole? Like,
no, my dude, you don't need to go around the hole. Just go right into it. Just go right into that hole.
I don't have time to be snarky. I don't have time for people. I just went, yep.
Those semis are what?
And like, went on my own business.
They're like 30 feet long or something. I mean, he could get across it. It's fine.
They're 54.
54? Oh, I was way off.
The standard semi trailer is 54. That's standard for container boxes. Oh. So trailers tend to be standardized to that length. Obviously, you can get some shorter ones for certain deliveries.
Well, then shoot, there you go, my man. If you want to go, then just go. You're longer than the hole. It's fine. the going down into it will be a bit rough, but it's fine. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Yeah, that was, I think, my favorite one because it was just such a ridiculous question. I don't know how... I feel like whenever people ask me questions that are just that dumb, I just sort of freeze up and give them like deer in the headlights look because I never know what I'm supposed to say when a question is just that dumb. Like, yeah, there's a giant hole in the ground. Like, you probably should go around it. I'm not gonna force you, but I don't think you're gonna make it if you try to go into it.
Yeah, I don't snark in the moment. I barely talk to them. People try to make small talk with me at work. And I'm just like, oh, that's nice. And I go about my business because I'm freaking working. I have this thing where I can't get off my track when I'm on it. If I get off my track, I'm going to not be able to do my work. I can't talk and concentrate on my work at the same time. So I very much prefer that people don't talk to me.
Same.
So when people talk to me, I'm very short. I'm
very short.
Not physically.
I'm very short physically.
I'm very short with them. So I just don't have time. I don't know if I know that it kind of makes me sort of standoffish almost, but it's like I don't have time for this. I'm here to work. I'm not here to make friends. It's like the only times I really talked and made friends with people at my job is when nothing was going on, because I'm not working at that point. I'm free to talk. But, people talking to you while you're working, and it's like, stop.
I think Flo and I were the ones having this
it's almost a
conversation
little
on
bit
Discord
of
the other
Asperger's.
day. I think Flo had mentioned about how he doesn't like making small talk, and about how it's also just vapid and empty and it's the same thing every time. And I agreed with that. It's just very annoying. And I think the biggest thing that annoys me, I'm allowed to work with my headphones on because most of my job is just working on the computer, so that there's nothing that I really need to listen for. And I usually have one ear free anyway in case my boss does come over or a phone call does come in. So normally I'm just like listening to music or a podcast or something. And I don't use earbuds. I use the big clunky around like over your ear headphones, like the really big chunky noise canceling Bose ones. So it's really obvious when I have them on because they're big. They look like gigantic earmuffs. And people, the way my cubicle is set up is that my back is to my doorway when I'm facing my computer, which I almost always am if I'm in my cubicle. So people like to come up behind me and just start talking. And like, you can see that I have my headphones on. I clearly don't hear you, and I'm not, what are you doing? Just what are you doing? So I'm actually the only person left in my section at work right now because everybody else sort of just took different positions all at the same time. And we're a small unit. We're only like 4 people fully staffed up.
What a unit.
Absolute unit. So there's only like 4 of us, even when we're fully staffed. So right now it's just me. And one person that we had before everybody left, she was nice, and I guess everybody thought that we were friends. And I am almost 100% positive because we were the closest in age in our section, and we were the 2 women in our section. And she was nice, don't get me wrong, but like all she talked about was stuff that I had no interest in. So like it's fine, she could tell me about stuff, but it's not like I really cared. She had show dogs, and she was very much all about her show dogs. So that was, she wasn't my work wife. I still haven't gotten over having to break up with my work wife in South Carolina.
We'll find you a new work wife.
I don't know if I want a new work wife. I kind of just want my old work wife back. She was kind of the best.
We will import your work wife.
That would be great, but she does not want to come to Ohio, so I don't think that's going to happen either.
Did they move?
They did. They moved to Boston. They were,
Ew.
Yeah, she got a job in Boston, and I think that her boyfriend can basically just work wherever because he's like a federal contractor and works from home anyway. And they have their cat, who's very chunky now. Very chunky young lady.
What did they do to that girl?
They made her chunk.
Why? Why'd you ruin that girl?
So anyway, all that was to say that this person in my section, she, more than anyone, would just start talking to my back while I had my headphones on. And it's just like, dude, what are you doing? Like, I'd turn around and freak out because I don't like when people just sneak up on me. Like I've already said, I've got anxiety. It stresses me when people are just suddenly in my space, like throwing their shadow over my cubicle doorway. Just don't do that.
The alternative is to do like me and always be in your space.
This is different. I'm not married to those people at work, so slightly different boundaries apply. But yeah, she was the worst about that. I'd just turn around and just, nearly freak out because she's just there. And she's just telling me about one of her slutty high school friends or something. Like, it was always just some gossip about people I didn't know. And I'm not even sure you can classify that as gossip. Isn't gossip supposed to be about somebody you know? So, anyway, yeah, small talk, no thank you. I don't like engaging in it. I definitely will not instigate or initiate it. I don't initiate small talk. I'll say hi and kind of give a smile and a wave because I don't think I'm a cold person.
So apparently, when recording on the phone, a voice memo, it will only go for 1 hour. This we have learned.
That seems to make sense. If you're actually leaving somebody a voice memo, they're not going to listen to more than an hour.
But if you're leaving yourself a voice memo, maybe you have a really long memo. They don't know me.
I'm recording my own Audible books.
They can't assume what I like.
I'm just going to read a book to myself out loud, and then when I'm in my car, I'm going to play it back so I can remember exactly what happened.
This is my last will and testament, and this is the last that I will hear of my mother. I mean, it's like how can they say that I can only talk for less than an hour? I mean, it's
policing your rights like that. Ugh.
Policing my life. Get out of my life, Steve Jobs.
Ugh, Steve Jobs.
I'm never using your phones again.
Ugh.
Unless your parents buy another one for me.
My parents, they totally would.
It's okay. We only really lost talking about small talk and also talking about Wyoming. I don't really believe there was much else.
No, we were just saying that I don't know, work's been kind of like, I guess, quiet for me recently in terms of the last jobs that I've had. Yeah, no, we didn't miss a ton. It's probably best that we lost the Wyoming stuff. Nobody needs to know about all that trauma.
But that is when you made a grown man cry.
Oh,
that's so
that
great.
is when I made a grown man cry. I can't.
It's glorious. I love it.
Don't worry, everyone.
It is the best story.
I talked about it in depth in the part that we lost, and I'm not going to do that again. But just so you know, I only made a grown man cry because he saw me crying, and that made him cry. So that is very sweet, and this person and I are still Facebook friends to this very day.
You're just so sad.
That was his reasoning for crying when he swiveled his chair around and had just tears streaming down his face, was that she just looks so sad. So
in any case, we have a whole lot of stories that we could go on about, but
we do.
We have been talking for a good an hour 45 minutes.
We have, and I still need to finish my Inktober stuff for the day.
I mean, this is much shorter than 3 hours of anime, but still, I believe this is a good place to stop. The phone has told us, please, no more. You must end it.
I think the phone is saying that we should do another 3-hour anime ramble.
I believe the phone can go kill itself, and no.
I don't know if the phone can.
Well, it can if I drop it.
True.
It's trying its darndest.
But that's not it killing itself. That's you killing the phone.
Well, if it would just defy gravity, then it would be fine. Get on it, Steve Jobs. Make me a phone that defies gravity.
Listen, there's a simple
solution. Make me a ghost phone, Ghost Steve Jobs.
There's a very simple solution. You take 2 pieces of toast and you butter them, and you put the butter sides out, and then you strap them around the phone, and then when you drop it, it'll just fall into a perpetual spin because it doesn't know which butter side to land on.
Then it lands on the crust. We know this. This has been tested and proven.
Whose toast lands on the crust? Excuse me?
Well,
excuse me?
If it can't land butter side up or butter side down, it's going to go on the crust.
No.
This is what happens when you mess with the laws of physics.
No.
Yeah.
No.
And if you make 4, it'll land on an edge.
No.
If you make a cube of buttered toast, it will land on an edge.
This is all wrong.
This is science. You can't disprove it.
I'm gonna try.
I am Separalis.
I'm Sal.
I also was Separalis.
I was Sal.
I will continue to be Separalis.
In the future, it is possible that I will be Sal.
In the future, there is only Sal.
There is always Sal.
Thanks for stopping by.
Bye.
Have fun.
Bye.
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 Happy Halloween.
It's fall, y'all.
It's fall, y'all.